Ladies and gentlemen, I'm having trouble. I'm trying to state this video as quickly as I can. It's concerning my late brother who died in 2020, and myself and my two sisters, elderly Jewish in our 60s, were totally and completely ripped off of our inheritance from our brother, which would have been a lien on his property with interest every year, 10% until we got paid. So far now it would be $150,000 to split three ways. That is from a very suspect trust that supposedly my brother wrote 11 weeks before he died. Highly unlikely. He had liver cancer 6 years. He was hospitalized 150 days, over 7 hospitalizations. That last 6 months of his life, I was living with him as like full-time friend, brother, caregiver, have some clinical background. And supposedly this lawyer, William John Rogers out of Petaluma, license number 154219, came out of nowhere and dropped out of the sky, and I was unaware of it, and came to visit my brother and had him write this trust 11 weeks before he died. He was in the hospital in a coma 150 times, in a liver coma. 150 days, excuse me. He would be in for 21 days, and then he'd come home for a week, and then he'd go in for 17 days, and then he was bouncing in and out of the hospital. At one point, he was hospitalized 33 days, I think from like October 15th to November 17th, and then he was home just a few weeks, went back in the ICU, and passed away. But supposedly, according to William John Rogers, he came to visit my brother and he wrote this trust. That's the biggest lie that was ever told. I was with my brother, living in his house 24/7, taking his vital signs, calling the hospital, coordinating medications 18 times a day. Mr. Rogers never showed up. Nevertheless, he claims that this is his trust. But I just want to point out the blatant lies that he and the other defendants are claiming that the trust says, and it's just outrageous corruption beyond comprehension. And the probate court could care less because they're overworked, okay? And the grand jury in Alameda County wrote up the probate department, by the way, in the Alameda County Superior Court, where my brother's case is. Case number RP 221-20163. Now, getting back to the technical points, there's the defendant, Breyer Horn, who just became an attorney less than 5 years ago. Anti-Semitic guy whose father's Jewish, mother isn't, so technically he isn't. That's a perfect storm for anti-Semitism. My brother's own daughters, who never saw him in 6 years of cancer, their mother wasn't Jewish, and they never converted, so technically they aren't Jewish, and they are anti-Semitic. It just happens in life. So, as we can see in the current era, speak no further on that one. So, moving right along, they sold my brother's half of a $2 million house to the daughters for $80,000. They removed the property from the trust illegally in violation of the irrevocable trust, and now they're going to go to court. And I want to point out this outrageous lie that was written under oath in a legal document by Breyer Horn, license number, I think it's 330-215 or 215-330. I think it's 330-215. So here's the trust, right? I'll make this quick. I don't want to bore you. We all got to go. Here's the trust, August 26, 2019, right? So it says here on page 4, I'm bouncing around, distribution, if you can read this here, it says distribution of a portion of the trust estate is subject to settlement agreement. The majority portion, bear with me, the majority portion of the settler, that's my late brother's interest in the real property, 1810 Grant Street, Berkeley, Bioloni Park, is subject to a certain settlement agreement between him, the settlor, that's the person who wrote the trust, and his ex-girlfriend in case number blah, blah, blah. The terms of this subsection B and subparagraphs 2, 3, 6 are intended to comply with that settlement. Well, let's look at them. The 2, 3, and 6. Well, 2 is, as you can see, owns an undivided 100% interest in the house. Well, we know that. With his ex-girlfriend as tenants in common. We know this. 3, he gives 50.1% of his interest to his two absent daughters who never saw him. And then the number 6 is that his girlfriend gets to live in the house rent-free the rest of her life. Right down here it says 6. If she's living at the time of his death, she shall have the right to occupy for the remainder of her life. Okay, that's fine. But let's take a look now at the settlement agreement. This is how lawyers lie. I mean, it's just disgusting, especially probate lawyers. I mean, they're just filth, in my opinion. Okay, here's settlement agreement, right? Between Ziprin and Salgado. That's the same thing. That's what's referred to in his trust. If you can stay focused, I apologize. I don't mean to be boring. Okay, so down here on page 3 of the settlement agreement, right? Here, let's read together. Salgado warrants that she will, that's the girlfriend, that she will have prepared and executed a will or trust in which she leaves her 50% ownership of the property to the parties' 2 daughters, the ones that never saw him in 6 years of cancer, and they admitted that in court. Case number RP 221-20163. That'll kill any father. If you already got terminal cancer and then your own daughters that you raised from birth won't even bother to talk to you because they're too busy making $100,000 a year as occupational therapists, that's murder. In the Philippines, they'd be in prison for 10 years. That's a fact. Okay, so it says, here it is. Salgado warrants, the girlfriend warrants that she will leave, that she will execute a will or trust in which she leaves 50% of her ownership in the property to the parties' 2 daughters, named in equal shares, with the reservation that Ziprin shall have the right to occupy the property as long as he is able. Okay, and then down a few pages, Ziprin, that's my brother who died, warrants to Salgado that he will have prepared, listen carefully, he will have prepared and executed a will or trust which leaves, get this, a majority of his 50% ownership in the property to his 2 daughters in equal shares. That's a majority. That's not everything. Now let's go to the lies that their lawyer, who's only been a lawyer 5 years, okay, he's opposing my opposition, my trust contest, because I'm challenging the trust in the probate court. So in his opposition and objection, right down here, opposition objection, he's representing the 2 daughters, right? It says here, total complete lie. I mean, this is why the probate court got written up. Pursuant to the clear terms of the trust. Maybe he's got Alzheimer's at a young age. No, I think he's just taking bribes. Briarhorn, that's right. You want to sue me for libel? You already stole every penny from me. There's nothing else to steal. Okay? Pursuant to the clear terms of the trust, 50.1% of the tenants of the trust's 50% interest in the Grant Street property was to be distributed to his 2 daughters. That's what I just read you. Upon his death. And here's where he's lying. Get this, he says, and the remaining 49% of the trust's 50% interest in the Grant Street property was to be distributed to the remainder beneficiaries? What? It just said no. The settlement agreement said they only get a majority portion. But here he is lying under oath. And it says, including a petitioner. It says, and he starts quoting like a brazen perjurer. Settler gives 50.1% of his interest in 1810 Grant Street to his 2 absent daughters to be divided. And then it's okay, so this is the lies that they tell, and then we don't have time here. I'm going to go again. Then they go on to this long settlement agreement that they made illegally with the Chabad trustee who sent me, his wife sent me a text message saying, well, we didn't really sell the house, but if we can get you out of there, we are going to sell it. I mean, these are just blatant criminals, and now 5 years later, my sisters and I are twisting in the wind of poverty and don't have a dime and never received anything, but Mr. Rogers, on paper, got $57,000 in attorney's fees based on a trust that supposedly was written 11 weeks before my brother died. But where was it written? Who wrote it? Nobody wrote it. They stole the house, they stole the money, and this is how they cover up their crimes. I'm having a problem here. It's getting late. Okay, here it is. This is the agreement. They bought the house for $86,000, which is a criminal act because you can't sell $1 million worth of real estate out of a cancer patient's trust for $82,000 and then say that's legitimate. And then when I went to court because I can't get a lawyer because they won't take cases that they can't extract large amounts of money from, and no other their non-probate litigation attorneys don't know of how to fight these cases. Anyway, it's been 10 minutes. This is too long, but I just want to go on record as to point out this scam. Thank you very much.